Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I'm Anuja Kumar and with me is Rupinder Kaur Chawla with the Midday News. The headlines. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar meets with Commerce Secretary of United States of America, Gina Raimondo. Says our goal is to enhance resilience and reliability of supply chains and enhance trust and transparency in business. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh to visit the headquarters of United States Indo-Pacific Command, Pacific Fleet and the training facilities in Hawaii today before returning to India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate Pradhan Mantri Sangrahalaya tomorrow. The museum is built at Delhi's Teen Murti estate to cover the lives and contributions of all the 14 former Prime Ministers of the country. Director General Civil Aviation bars 90 SpiceJet pilots from operating Boeing 737 MAX aircraft. Today marks the 103 years of the horrific Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Vice President and Prime Minister pay tribute to the brave martyrs of Jallianwala Bagh. Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Thakur exhorts youngsters of the country to connect with their cultural roots. Death toll from tropical storm Maggie rises to 58 in the Philippines. And in IPL cricket, Mumbai Indians to take on Punjab Kings in Pune this evening. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar held a meeting with Commerce Secretary of United States of America, Gina Raimondo. In a tweet, Dr. Jaishankar said, our goal is to enhance resilience and reliability of supply chains and enhance the trust and transparency in business. Secretary Raimondo expressed interest in continued engagement with the Indian government as the United States moves toward the launch of the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. Earlier, Dr. Jaishankar met with Ambassador of United States Trade Representative Catherine Tai. During the meeting, issues of bilateral trades were discussed. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh will visit the headquarters of United States Indo-Pacific Command, Pacific Fleet and the training facilities in Hawaii today before returning to India. He is also expected to lay wreaths at National Memorial Cemetery of the Pacific and visit the headquarters of U.S. Army Pacific and Pacific Air Forces during his brief stay in Hawaii. Defense Ministry said Mr. Singh reached Hawaii for a visit to the headquarters of United States Indo-Pacific Command yesterday. On his arrival from Washington, D.C., he was received by Admiral John Aquilino. The United States Indo-Pacific Command and the Indian military have wide-ranging engagements, including a number of military exercises, training events and exchanges.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the Pradhan Mantri Sangrahalaya tomorrow at 11 a.m. The Pradhan Mantri Sangrahalaya is built at Delhi's Teen Murti estate and covers the lives and contributions of all the 14 former Prime Ministers of the country. It is an inclusive endeavour aimed at sensitizing and inspiring the younger generation about the leadership, vision and achievements of all Prime Ministers of the country. The design of the museum is inspired by the story of rising India. The logo of the museum represents the hands of the people of India holding the Dharma Chakra, symbolizing the nation and democracy. There are a total of 43 galleries in the museum. Representing a seamless blend of the old and the new, the museum integrates the erstwhile Teen Murti Bhavan designated as Block 1 with a newly constructed building designated as Block 2. Kanchan Gupta, Senior Advisor, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting and member of PM's Committee on Netaji 125th Anniversary, has in a series of tweets said that the museum recognizes the contribution of all Prime Ministers irrespective of their ideology as per the vision of Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Director General Civil Aviation DGCA has barred 90 SpiceJet pilots from operating the Boeing 737 MAX aircraft after finding them not properly trained. DGCA Chief Arun Kumar said for the moment these pilots have been barred from flying the MAX and they have to retrain successfully for flying the aircraft. Mr. Kumar also said that the regulator will take strict action against those found responsible for the lapse. The pilots will have to undergo training again in a proper manner on the MAX simulator. The Indian Air Force and the IIT Madras today signed an MOU for various developmental projects to support the requirements of the IAF. Joint partnership between IAF and IIT Madras aims to accelerate IAF's indigenization efforts for achieving an Atmanirbhar Bharat. The IAF has identified key focus areas involving technology development and finding indigenous solutions towards sustenance of various weapon systems. IIT Madras will provide consultancy duly supported by research for feasibility studies and prototype development. IIT Madras, in partnership with IAF, will significantly contribute in indigenization efforts by base repair depots BRDs of Maintenance Command IAF towards enhancing sustenance capability, obsolescence management and achieving self-reliance. The MOU was signed by Air Commodore S. Bahuja, Command Engineering Officer Systems, Headquarters Maintenance Command IAF, and Professor H.S.N. Murthy, Head of Department Aerospace Engineering IIT Madras at Air Force Station, Tughlakabad, Delhi. Road Transport and Highways Minister Nitin Gadkari has said that in line with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of reaching the last mile, his ministry is committed to build safer, all-weather roads to provide seamless connectivity in the islands. In a series of tweets, Mr. Gadkari informed that the Biodanabad to Ferrarganj section of National Highway number 4 in Andaman and Nicobar Islands was completed in 2019. He said this 26-kilometer stretch, constructed at a cost of 170 crore rupees, was envisaged under the ambitious Andaman and Nicobar Island Dweep Connectivity Program.
Over 186 crore vaccine doses have been administered so far under nationwide vaccination drive. The Union Health Ministry said over 15 lakh vaccine doses were administered yesterday. The ministry said a total of 1,088 new cases were recorded in the last 24 hours. India's active caseload currently stands at 10,870. The recovery rate is currently at 98.76% and over 1,000 COVID patients recovered in the last 24 hours. 26 deaths were reported in last 24 hours. The Rajiv Gandhi Government General Hospital in Chennai, which once had the highest number of COVID-19 beds in the state, has recorded 0 patients. The last patient, who was getting treatment for the viral disease, got discharged on Monday evening, leaving the COVID special wards without any inpatient. Meanwhile, Tamil Nadu has witnessed 22 new infections in the last 24 hours and the active caseload is 226. There have been no deaths due to the infection for the past many days. A report.
The General Hospital in Chennai admitted the state's first COVID patient on March 7, 2020. It has weathered so many stressful situations during the first and second waves of the pandemic. It has introduced several novel methods like ambulance triaging, zero delay method and in-house oxygen generation. It also handled the mucormycosis infections which had been triggered by the pandemic. Its doctors say the hospital has at times witnessed 90-year-olds with comorbidities walking home after complete recovery and people in the prime of their youth without any lifestyle diseases failing to recover. Several researches on the pandemic have also been held in the public health facility. Another notable feature in the state is that it has not witnessed any death due to the viral infection since 18th March. Jai Singh, AR News, Chennai.
The principal opposition AIADMK in Tamil Nadu has demanded the precautionary dose of COVID vaccines to be offered free of cost by the state government. In a statement, the party coordinator O. Panneerselvam has said the precautionary doses are being given in private hospitals at a fee of 375 rupees each, as per the guidelines of the Union Health Ministry. However, he said the vaccine movement has crossed the milestone of 186 crore doses in the country, including 10.39 crore in the state, mainly because it was offered without any fee by the government. BJP President JP Nadda has set up a 5-member fact-finding committee to visit the place of rape and murder of a minor girl at Hansakhali, Nadia in West Bengal. The committee, comprising of MP Rekha Verma and UP Minister Baby Rani Maurya, has been asked to submit its report at the earliest. BJP West Bengal State President Sukanta Majumdar has said the CBI will investigate its own way and that BJP will not interfere anyway in the investigation process. But the whole country should know exactly what the situation is like in the state. When the representatives of different states come and see, everyone will know what kind of anarchy has been created in Bengal, she added.
Union Minister of State for Women and Child Development, Dr. Munjapada Mahendra Bhai, has stressed upon building human and social capital of the country based on the pillars of good nutrition, gender equality, proper education, and decent standard of living. Addressing the 5th and final zonal conference of 5 eastern states and stakeholders in Odisha capital Bhubaneswar today, he said that the Women and Child Development Ministry has recently rolled out 3 missions: Poshan 2.0, Mission Vatsalya and Mission Shakti for the welfare of women and children who constitute more than 67% of the country's population. He said in order to improve the nutrition of women and children, it requires a range of policies, programs and interventions at different stages of life. Representatives of 5 states, namely Odisha, West Bengal, Chhattisgarh, Bihar and Jharkhand, are participating in the day-long deliberations.
The Chief of Army Staff, COAS General Manoj Mukund Naravane, today visited Rashtriya Raksha University RRU at Lavard near Gandhinagar in Gujarat. COAS General Naravane has released the book 50 Years of 1971 War Accounts from Veterans at RRU Auditorium in the presence of RRU Vice Chancellor Bimal Patel.
You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar meets with Commerce Secretary of United States of America Gina Raimondo, says our goal is to enhance resilience and reliability of supply chains and enhance trust and transparency in business. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh to visit the headquarters of United States Indo-Pacific Command, Pacific Fleet and the training facilities in Hawaii today before returning to India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate Pradhan Mantri Sangrahalaya tomorrow. The museum is built at Delhi's Teen Murti estate to cover the lives and contributions of all the 14 former Prime Ministers of the country. Director General Civil Aviation bars 90 SpiceJet pilots from operating Boeing 737 MAX aircraft. Today marks 103 years of the horrific Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Vice President and Prime Minister pay tribute to brave martyrs of Jallianwala Bagh. Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Thakur exhorts youngsters of the country to connect with their cultural roots. Death toll from Tropical Storm Maggie rises to 58 in the Philippines. And in IPL cricket, Mumbai Indians to take on Punjab Kings in Pune this evening. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
कंपटीशन की अगर आप कर रहे हैं तैयारी तो उनके लिए ऑल इंडिया रेडियो पर हम लाए हैं अभ्यास, एक ऐसा कार्यक्रम जिसमें आप पूछेंगे सवाल व्हाट्सएप नंबर 9289094044 पर या फिर ईमेल करेंगे abhyas.airnews@gmail.com पर और हमारे विशेषज्ञ देंगे इसका जवाब। अगले अंक का विषय है ज्योग्राफी यानी कि भूगोल और हमारे एक्सपर्ट हैं प्रोफेसर अमृता बजाज। सवाल भेजने की अंतिम तारीख है 13 अप्रैल। आपका अभ्यास हमारा प्रयास।
Welcome back to the Midday News on All India Radio. Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Thakur exhorted the youngsters of the country to connect with their cultural roots. He said stories of cultural legacy should be propagated among the masses. Addressing the audience at the Madhavpur Gher village fair in Gujarat, Mr. Thakur said the fair is the highest symbol of connecting people of India and the festival brings together the far east of the country and the west. Speaking on the developmental work being carried out in the states of Northeast, Mr. Thakur said Look East policy has become Act East policy. He said only under the current government, northeastern states of country have seen unprecedented development in infrastructure and facilities. He said that the government under Prime Minister Narendra Modi is actively working towards reviving India's lost cultural heritage.
माधवपुर का ये छोटा सा गांव जो हजारों साल पहले साक्षी रहा भगवान श्री कृष्ण और माता रुक्मिणी के विवाह का, उसी माधवपुर में एक मेले की शुरुआत नहीं हुई, एक अंतर्राष्ट्रीय स्तर तक मेला शुरुआत करने का काम किया है तो नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने करने का किया है। कैसे किसी चीज को बड़ा किया जा सकता है, भारत की सांस्कृतिक विरासत को कैसे बचाकर आगे बढ़ाने का काम किया जा सकता है, माधवपुर का मेला इससे बड़ा उदाहरण देश में शायद ही कोई हो सकता है।
Mr. Thakur said Kedarnath temple has seen a grand uplift and the grandeur of Somnath temple has also achieved new highs. The event was also attended by Manipur Chief Minister N. Biren Singh and ministers of Gujarat government. The Madhapur Kher festival was inaugurated by President Ramnath Kovind. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin has announced that the birthday of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar will be celebrated as the Equalitarian Day in the state. In a suo motu statement in the State Assembly today, he said select books of Dr. Ambedkar will be translated into Tamil by the government. The announcement comes a day ahead of the birth anniversary of the architect of the Indian Constitution, Dr. Ambedkar.
Today marks 103 years of the horrific Jallianwala Bagh massacre. On 13th of April 1919, the horrific incident of Jallianwala Bagh massacre took place in Punjab. Till date, it remains the darkest day in Indian history. On the auspicious festival of Vaisakhi, thousands gathered at the Jallianwala Bagh to celebrate Vaisakhi and peacefully protest the arrest of two leaders, Satyapal and Saifuddin Kichlu. But the public meetings and the processions were banned and villagers were not aware of that. General Reginald Edward Harry Dyer entered Jallianwala Bagh with his troops and blocked the entrance. He ordered his troops to begin shooting at the unarmed civilians without any warning. More from our correspondent.
Today the country is remembering those who sacrificed their lives for the freedom of the country in Jallianwala Bagh at Amritsar on the day of Vaisakhi. The marks of bullets on the walls of Jallianwala Bagh monument and Khuni well reminds the people of the brutality of English rule. Today, large number of people are gathering at Jallianwala Bagh to pay homage to the freedom fighters and martyrs. The people reaching here feel the place fill them with the spirit of patriotism. In the evening, a program is being organized in the memory of martyrs and pay homage to the freedom fighters. Ashwini Kumar Sharma, AIR News, Chandigarh.
Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi have paid tributes to the martyrs who were massacred in Jallianwala Bagh on this day in 1919. In a tweet today, Mr. Naidu said, all are eternally indebted to them for the supreme sacrifice for the freedom of our motherland. He said the best tribute we can pay to our freedom fighters is building an India that they envisioned. In a tweet, Prime Minister said their unparalleled courage and sacrifice will keep motivating the coming generations.
And now let's listen to our special program Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव।
Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a nation. India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
On the 13th of April 1919, one of the most brutal episodes of Indian freedom struggle, the Jallianwala Bagh massacre, took place. The incident marked a turning point in India's struggle for independence.
The Rowlatt Act was passed on 10th of March 1919, authorizing the government to imprison or confine without a trial any person associated with nationalistic activities. This led to nationwide unrest. This act was termed as Black Act by nationalist leaders. Mahatma Gandhi initiated Satyagraha to protest against the Rowlatt Act and published an article called Satyagrahi on 7th of April 1919, describing ways to oppose the Rowlatt Act.
The British government issued orders to prohibit Gandhiji from entering Punjab and to arrest him if he disobeyed the orders. Dr. Saifuddin Kichlu and Dr. Satyapal, the two prominent leaders who were a symbol of Hindu-Muslim unity, organized a peaceful protest against the Rowlatt Act in Amritsar. When the two leaders were arrested on April the 9th, 1919, the people marched to the Deputy Commissioner's residence the next day to demand their release. They were fired upon by the police and many people were injured. The Lieutenant Governor of Punjab, Michael O'Dwyer, directed the officers to suppress all opposition.
13th of April 1919. On the day of Baisakhi, people had gathered at Jallianwala Bagh to celebrate Baisakhi, in spite of the orders prohibiting any assembly. At the meeting, two resolutions were to be discussed. One, condemning the firing on April the 10th, and the other requesting the authorities to release their leaders.
And that is why the Mahatma begs us to take the course of non-violence.
When the news reached the police, the tyrant Brigadier General Reginald Dyer headed to the Bagh with his troops. He entered the Bagh, deployed his troops, and ordered them to open fire without giving any warning.
Should we issue a warning, sir?
They've had their warning. No meetings.
People rushed to the exits, but Dyer directed his soldiers to fire at the exit. The indiscriminate firing continued for 10 to 15 minutes, and it ceased only after the ammunition had run out. Over 1,650 rounds were fired.
The total estimated figure of the dead as given by General Dyer was 291. However, other reports, including that of a committee headed by Madan Mohan Malviya, put the figure of dead at over 500.
As the news of the massacre spread across the nation, Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore renounced his knighthood.
General Dyer's actions on the day of the massacre received a prompt acknowledgement from the Lieutenant Governor of Punjab, Michael O'Dwyer, who at once wired to him,
"Your action is correct. Lieutenant Governor approves."
Both the British officers, Reginald Dyer and Michael O'Dwyer, faced violent criticism. On 14th of October 1919, the Disorders Inquiry Committee, also known as the Hunter Commission, was formed to inquire about the massacre. The commission only censured Dyer for his actions and asked him to resign from his appointment as brigade commander.
But the fire of revenge was alive in Indian revolutionaries. The barbaric Brigadier General Reginald Dyer died in 1927 due to a stroke. But the then Lieutenant Governor of Punjab, Michael O'Dwyer, had to face the wrath when 21 years after the Jallianwala Bagh massacre, Michael O'Dwyer was shot by the revolutionary freedom fighter Udham Singh on the 13th of March 1940 in London.
After independence, a memorial was set up by the Government of India in 1951 at Jallianwala Bagh to commemorate the spirit of Indian revolutionaries and the people who lost their lives in the brutal massacre. It stands as a symbol of struggle and sacrifice and continues to instill patriotism amongst the youth. In March 2019, the Yad-e-Jallian Museum was inaugurated, showing the account of the massacre.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
A team of 12 officers and other ranks from the Army Medical Corps under the aegis of Directorate General of Medical Service Army is on a motorcycle expedition to motivate the doctors and paramedics, the Corona warriors posted at far-flung areas. The motorcycle expedition is being conducted to celebrate Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav and to commemorate 258th Army Medical Corps Raising Day. The expedition, encompassing 4 commands and 12 states, including 7 northeast states, will cover over 10,000 kilometers over a span of 20 days of driving time. The team is led by Colonel Rajesh W. Adhau, who is also a mountaineer, adventure enthusiast and a Kargil war veteran. Colonel Rajesh said the team got a warm welcome wherever they went.
We are very, very happy to see the response since we enter in Northeast. We enter in Northeast from Guwahati side and we got everywhere very warm welcome. Every state, we from Shillong, we went to the Mizoram, we went to the Manipur and today we are in Nagaland. We started our journey from the 3rd April. Main aim of expedition was to felicitate the frontline workers, to felicitate the doctors, to meet the doctor and see the challenges what they face during the COVID time. We had a lot of interaction with the civil doctors en route and this journey will continue and our aim is to meet more than 100 medical establishments.
In US, inflation soared over the past year at its fastest pace in more than 40 years, with costs for food, gasoline, housing and other necessities squeezing consumers. The Labour Department said on Tuesday that its consumer price index jumped 8.5% in March, from 12 months earlier, the sharpest year-over-year increase since 1981. According to media reports, prices have been driven up by bottlenecked supply chains, robust consumer demand, and disruptions to global food and energy markets worsened by Russia's Ukraine confrontation.
The death toll from landslides and floods after Tropical Storm Maggie in the Philippines rose to 58 yesterday. Rescue crews were still seeking to find survivors in flooded villages, digging through mud and wading through chest-high water. However, officials say the death toll from Sunday's natural disaster is only expected to rise. Villages around Bebe City in the central Leyte province are worst hit. Authorities say more than 1 lakh people in southern and eastern Philippines islands have been affected by the storm. The Reserve Bank of New Zealand raised interest rates by 0.5% or 50 basis points to 1.50% yesterday. It is the 4th hike in a row as the central bank seeks to tame sharply rising inflation. The central bank in a statement said the hike, which was its biggest increase in more than 20 years, was intended to take the cash rate to more neutral stance and reduce the risk of rising inflation expectations.
On to sports. In IPL cricket, Mumbai Indians will take on Punjab Kings at the Maharashtra Cricket Association Stadium in Pune at 7:30 p.m. Last night, Chennai Super Kings beat Royal Challengers Bangalore by 23 runs at D.Y. Patil Sports Academy in Navi Mumbai. Put into bat first, Chennai posted 216 for 4 in the stipulated 20 overs. Chasing the target, Bangalore were restricted to 193 for 9 by Chennai Super Kings. Young Indian Grandmaster R. Pragnadha won the prestigious Reykjavik Open Chess Tournament in Reykjavik, Iceland with 7.5 points from 9 rounds. The 16-year-old Pragnadha defeated compatriot G.M.D. Gukesh in the final round yesterday to emerge sole winner.
Kerala will continue to receive isolated rain accompanied by lightning and thunderstorm till Saturday. Yellow alert has been issued to Thiruvananthapuram, Kollam, Pathanamthitta, Alappuzha, Kottayam and Idukki districts today. According to Indian Meteorological Department, strong wind is likely to blow across the state today and tomorrow. Temporary ban has been imposed on fishing off Kerala Lakshadweep coast.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jayashankar meets with Commerce Secretary of United States of America Gina Raimondo. Says our goal is to enhance resilience and reliability of supply chains and enhance trust and transparency in business. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh to visit the headquarters of United States Indo-Pacific Command, Pacific Fleet and the training facilities in Hawaii today before returning to India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate Pradhan Mantri Sangrahalaya tomorrow. The museum is built at Delhi's Teen Murti estate to cover the lives and contributions of all the 14 former Prime Ministers of the country. Director General Civil Aviation bars 90 SpiceJet pilots from operating Boeing 737 MAX aircraft. Today marks the 103 years of the horrific Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Vice President and Prime Minister pay tribute to brave martyrs of Jallianwala Bagh. Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Thakur exhorts youngsters of the country to connect with their cultural roots. And with that, we end the Midday News.